Do you have a job interview coming up? Or are you hoping that the next job interview doesn't go as bad as the last one went? Well, today I want to share with you exactly 4 tips that will change the way in which you show up in every interview. So why should you even listen to me? I've worked in HR as well as recruitment for 7 years, where I interviewed professionals, the creme de la creme, where their CVs were polished, but they were unable to articulate themselves. And I tell you, the statistics are 12% of people are usually successful during interviews. And that means if we've seen 500, only 60 got the job. And that's because they just don't know how to speak to ace the interview. And today I'm going to share with you 4 tips that are going to change everything for you. And these 4 tips are going to help you to be able to excel in that next interview. Because let's picture that moment. You're sitting there, your palms are sweating, and you're just thinking, oh my goodness, why should we even interview? And then that first question comes up. So, please tell us a little bit about yourself. The worst question, because where do I even begin? There's so much about me. What do you guys want to know? And the first place I want you to start is, tell us about you. Not what you do, but you. So frame it like this: 30% personal, 60% career, and then you want to keep that last statement futuristic, 10%. So in your 30%, you want to break it down into your personality, your hobbies, what's your homestead situation. You want to give them insight as to who you are, what you value, and what you are about. And then you go into 60% your career. And here, if you have a lot of experience, please, you can't run us through 20 roles over the 20 years. Try and summarize your junior years and then focus on the last 2 or 3 roles. And if you are more junior, here you want to focus on every aspect and every little piece of experience that you have. And then in that 10% at the end, you want to give us your future statement. So what's the impact you want to make? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What career are you building? And in that way, you're not going to feel you're fumbling, you're all over the place, because you've managed to get through the tell me about yourself question with structure, with precision, as well as with giving them a holistic idea of who you are, what you've done, and what you're hoping to do. That's tip number 1. And now let's talk about the next tip. So you want to ensure that you speak with structure. And there's a research methodology, which is the STAR technique, especially when it comes to situational questions, behavioral questions, as well as some of your general questions. These are questions like, can you tell us about a time where you experienced conflict in your career? The S of the STAR says and talks about the situation. The T is the task. The A speaks to the actions. And the R is the results, the most important thing. Narrating this story as to when you experienced conflict shouldn't be an elaborate, long, taking us all the way back story. You should structure it concisely, as well as taking us through the steps that you had to take with precision, and then rounding it up with a result that speaks to a positive outcome. So yes, you experienced conflict 2 years ago when you met a colleague. that didn't understand their role on a project. And by the time the project had started, they weren't sure on what they needed to do. And then they reported you for not indicating what was expected of them. What you then did is you called in your manager and you had this conversation, resolved the result. And now you and that colleague are best friends. Ideally, focus on positive results and situations, especially when you want to use the structure. And then let's look at one of the things that all of us miss, especially when we're anxious, which is tip 3, not listening well. When you're anxious, you often think when you hear the first 3 words of a question, oh, I know what they want to ask, I know what they're going to ask. When in actual fact, you should be listening until the end. Being a good listener also means opening up room for asking questions when you're not clear about a question. One of the ways to show someone that you're truly listening well to what they've said is to start your answer by affirming the question that was stated. So saying, oh, that's a good question related to team building. One of the things I used to do to ensure that my team remains connected and works well together is I used to ensure that we do a check-in every Friday, but making it more social by playing things like 30 seconds to keep it light, but also still focusing on the key things that matter to the team. So listen until the end. And not slowly, not fast, because this is an indication that I need you to finish asking because I know what I want to say. Right? You want to nod slowly. And listening well will always set you apart. And the last and final tip is your close, your exit. You want to ensure that you are unforgettable. And this means when they ask you, do you have any questions for us? You can't say, no, thanks, I'm fine. That doesn't leave a lasting impression. You want to ensure that you've prepared at least 3 questions that will showcase that you are an initiator, that you've done your research on the company, and that you're very interested on hitting the ground running. And these types of questions are quite ideal for the next line manager to see how you think about the environment and what your expectations are. So you ask questions like, what is it that I can do within the first 3 months to ensure that I am the person that alleviates the team from some of its pressures? These type of questions show your interest as well as understanding that you are hired to solve, you are hired to make things happen. So remember, please don't say I'm just fine. And don't ask the question, when are we getting our feedback? Worst question to ask at the end. Because they will give you feedback if you are the person they want to hire. Yep, so let's do a quick recap on these 4. The first one is, tell me about yourself. You want to stick to my 30-60-10 formula. So 30% personal, 60% career, and then 10% your futuristic statement impact that you want to make. And then you want to ensure that you answer your questions with structure, using formulas or layouts like the STAR technique. Describe the situation, run us through the task, the actions, and the biggest result, positive results. And then you want to ensure that you ground yourself and are present as questions are being asked. Listen all the way till the end and affirm them in your answer. And then the best of it all is leave a great lasting impression. Ask questions that provoke and show them that you're a problem solver, initiator, and ready to hit the ground running. If you enjoyed this episode and you want similar tips like these, you want to ensure that you click that subscribe button, ensure that you click the notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Because from my HR and public speaking experience, I'll change your career. Until I see you again next time, Bye for now.